Right, well, Ken, thank you for coming, mate.
No worries, mate. Pleasure
Uh,
to be here.
Appreciate the time. Well, I'll take a brief bit of context on you. You're currently playing at Banbury
Correct. Yep.
in the National League,
Ashley North. Yeah.
yeah, National League North, and you've played at various clubs up until this point. Colchester, you've played at a few different teams in and around the same level you're at now, and then you was at where was you at when you were younger? Arsenal. You
I
had a
was at Southend, then Arsenal, then had a period where I was without a club until got to Colchester at times.
yeah, okay, cool. So we'll get onto all that, but we'll start. I normally start this at the beginning. So I just wondered how did you get into football? What age did you get into it roughly, if you can remember?
Yeah, exactly. No, I've been involved in football as long as I can remember, really. My dad used to take me around the park when I was probably like 2, 3 years old, as early as that, and just obviously that was just casual, like kicking a ball about. Proper fun and stuff. And then I think I joined my first Sunday team when I was about 4.5, 5,
Yeah,
and that was local. Again, not much memory of it. It's just what I've been told. I do remember a few bits, but nothing like clear. At that time, it's literally just going to have fun with your friends, isn't it?
yeah. It's little. You remember like little moments in your
Yeah,
head.
little moments, but nothing like nothing official.
Nah.
It's just fun, really, in the park. So that's how I saw it at the time.
Yeah, nice. What So you said about 4 or 5. What area was that?
This was in East London, so
Okay.
like Manor Park, Stratford sort of area.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. What do you remember the team? The first
yeah,
team you joined?
I went to Pro Star. Pro Star was at the time like near Stratford that they were set up. It was I think it was West Ham Memorial Park they used to train at. So
Yeah.
yeah, this was East London. Um, and I stayed there for a couple of years. Like this is probably one of the enjoyable parts of football where it was literally just go and play and have fun.
Stress free, innit?
Yeah, exactly. And I was always I was a striker, always one of the better ones. So it was literally just at the time get me the ball and see what I can do with it.
Yeah, nice, mate. So you were there till you started at 4 or 5 there. What How long was you at that club for? Your local Sunday team? Do you remember?
So I say I started about 4 or 5, and then I was there probably until about 8 years old. Um, and that's when I started going into the pro setup and you know training with academies, trialing and stuff. And I think when I started doing that, then obviously I was doing that was a lot of football. So I think I started pulling away from the Sunday team.
Yeah. Oh, okay, I got you. So yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? It's hard to keep them both up as much as you do enjoy it. I'm guessing the Sunday team was with your mates.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The Sunday team was just literally local team.
yeah,
Yeah, mates that you knew from school or from around the area.
yeah.
But you get to a point where football starts becoming serious. Well, to you as a kid, you still don't know. It's still like
It's more
it's
like,
still
oh, I want to
enjoyable.
play for a better club.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's all it is. And
yeah,
you're told, obviously, you know about your Arsenals, your Tottenhams, and those.
of course.
You hear about them, so for you, it's attractive. But at the same time, it's still just fun.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So the first like pro club you're at was um
So the first pro club I signed for was Southend.
Southend,
Yeah,
yeah. And what
first
age
was
was that?
I was an under nine.
Okay, but did you go to a few? You went to a few before that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was at Spurs for probably over a year. At underage where
Yeah, yeah,
everyone's
like the
just sort of
pre-academy
yeah,
and
yeah. So
yeah,
I was there for quite a bit, and then I was at Arsenal for a couple of months, and then eventually went on to Southend, and they offered me a contract at the time very quickly, so it just kind of made sense at the time to go there and
showed
sign.
they really liked you and wanted you
Yeah,
then, yeah.
yeah.
I think I was at Arsenal and Tottenham as well when I was about 8 or 9. So maybe we
We probably played with each other at that
probably
time
played with each
about
other.
then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It was good. Did you go to the Spurs Lodge?
yeah, yeah. It
Yeah,
was
that's the
nice at the
one.
time. Yeah, yeah.
And with Arsenal, where was you? Do you
That
remember?
was Hayland.
Hale End,
Yeah,
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 decent. Yeah, I remember it. It was good. Good times, man.
yeah, yeah.
So then you signed for your first, you signed at under nines.
Yeah.
And how long was you there for?
I was at Southend, I think, for 3 seasons, 3.5 seasons.
Oh, okay. So under 12s ish.
So under 12s this
Yeah,
year.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then what did they just say? They released you at under 12s,
No,
was it?
no, they tried they wanted to
Oh
keep
yeah.
on to me, but I think at the time, one of the main problems was obviously it was quite far for where I was living. I was living
Yeah.
East London, Southend. My dad was coming home from work and literally jumping straight in the car, taking me to football, which was hard. And I think I was also getting to a point where I was probably one of the better players in my age group and stuff. Um, so my dad was basically pushed to try and negotiate if I can leave.
Yeah.
Um, I think the issue was I wasn't looking to leave and go sideways or go to like another, like, I don't know, smaller academy. I think it was literally Arsenal were really keen at the time, and so were Fulham. So this created a bit of a problem. Southend were like, we need a bit of compensation
Yeah,
if
yeah.
this is gonna happen. So I ended up spending the majority of the under 12 season literally just on trial at Arsenal. Or I say on trial. It was all verbally agreed that yeah, we're gonna sign you, but it
Yeah.
was just a matter of settling compensation with Southend.
Okay.
And I was told for the whole season, it's going to get done, it's going to get done. So I was there for about 6, 7 months,
Yeah.
literally the whole season without being signed. But obviously, at the time, you're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
getting paid or anything, so
Sorry, mate. Just
doesn't
pull that up a bit close. That's fine.
yeah,
So yeah,
go on. Yeah, it doesn't make too much of a difference at that time because regardless, you're just training, aren't you? Like
yeah, yeah.
you're training and you're
Whether
playing
you're
games.
signed or you're not, you're still there
I'm
training, doing the
training,
same
playing
thing.
games. There's no sort of wages or nothing. So for me as a kid, I was, you know,
Didn't change it at
in
all,
my
did it?
head, I was like, yeah, I'm at
Yeah.
Arsenal, but obviously officially, we were waiting to see if we can get the compensation sorted, and then I think eventually it just didn't work out. Like I think Southend wanted, I think, substantially more than Arsenal at the time were looking to get. And then towards the end of that season, Arsenal just turned around eventually and said, look, we can't pay what Southend are asking for.
And they just didn't want to budge.
Southend didn't want to budge. No, I think they just obviously knew what it's Arsenal. They've
Yeah.
got money, so I think they was kind of like,
They're playing the game, weren't they?
yeah,
They
let's
know.
try and let's see what we can get here. And at the time, I don't think there were strict rules on like what you can actually claim. I think it was a very
Open.
open book.
Yeah.
So I think they were just so like the difference in both their valuations were massive. And in the end, yeah, it just didn't happen in the end.
So did you? So you've gone through all that. What was your thoughts of that after? Like, was you? I know you said you were young, you didn't really know, but
Yeah, no,
once you stopped playing with them, then you realised,
you're
didn't you?
12, aren't you? So
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're still far away from the ages where you start signing professional deals and stuff, but you're aware of what you're doing now. Like
Yeah.
at 12, you're not, it's fun, but you're aware this
You
is what you want to do. So
100%.
obviously, when that happened, it was a bit of a shock, but also like it's quite hard to take as a 12-year-old. Like in my head, I've been told, yeah, this is gonna get done. So in my head, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna sign for these lot eventually, but it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Everything I'm doing at that moment is literally just um, as if I'm an Arsenal player, and then eventually, because of some things out of my control, you get told that it can't happen anymore. So yeah, it was hard to take.
Yeah, that's probably the worst bit in it. That it's not like they've said to you, right, we've had a look at you and we're not sure they've kept you there, and then they thought, no, you're not good enough, or
Yeah,
we don't value you as
yeah,
much.
that was definitely the hard part.
They wanted you, yeah,
It wasn't like I've gone in for a 6 week trial and they said, yeah, and you're not.
yeah.
No, like I've been given kit. I've been there for about 6 months, like training with everyone, playing all the games. So,
Getting the kit's a good one, isn't
yeah, exactly.
it?
So you think you're in the door and stuff, but eventually, yeah, for reasons out of my control, it couldn't really happen.
Yeah. So then, did you went back to Southend?
No, I didn't go back to
So
Southend.
so that because of that stopped as well.
Yeah, so obviously, at this point, nearly a season's gone, and I've been at Arsenal.
Yeah.
I was at Fulham for a bit before I went to Arsenal, and then I went to Arsenal for a long time, and that's where I thought it was going to happen. Um, and then obviously that didn't happen. Obviously at this point you're not in control of your own career. I do
Nah.
where my wherever my dad says we go and you go, don't you? Um, but obviously the way it happened with Southend probably wasn't it wasn't very amicable, so it wasn't really an option to go back there at
Would
the
have been a
time. I
bit
don't.
like sore going back there, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. So I was this took me to about under 13s now. Um, and then yeah, I was just probably without a club at this point.
So you were without any pro club. Did you then what? So you just stopped playing? Did you?
No, I didn't. I never stopped playing. You're obviously playing at school. You're obviously playing counties and
Yeah.
all of that stuff. Um, I still had, like trials at different clubs because
Yeah.
they Southend tried to make it seem at the time as though um, the reason they were asking for X amount was because you was trying to go to Arsenal. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're trying to move up the ladder in a sense. But they made it look to seem as though if you went to another club who was perhaps more local to me or similar level to Southend. I think they're in League One at the time, perhaps League Two. Um, they wouldn't stand in my way. So obviously I kept training with various clubs
Yeah.
between under 13 and under 16, just various clubs. That's when I came at Palace at under 16.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was there for a few weeks. So I'd say between the ages of like 13 to 16, in terms of training, I got all the training that needed to happen because it was floating around clubs. But
And pro
obviously,
clubs as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
pro clubs, good standard. Um, and I think one thing my dad always said to me at the time was like, whether you're signing or not, they can't take away the sessions they're giving to you. Like you're coming
100%.
in and you're training, at a good standard with good players. They can never take that away from you. Even if after 6 weeks they say we're not going to sign you, you've got 6 weeks worth of training that
Yeah.
you can take somewhere else. So I think at that age, that advice from my dad helped me quite a bit because I never went into anywhere with sort of. I felt like I'm not losing anything. As much as I was desperate to go in and impress and
Yeah.
try and get a deal, I was very much like, whatever happens, happens. I'm gaining something. Whatever happens, I'm going to come out here as a winner. So I think that helps. I loitered around a lot of academies up until under 16. And then I think the last club I went to before before scholar age was Palace actually. Um, and when that didn't happen, I think at that point that's probably when I started asking a lot of questions about myself and my
Yeah.
career and whether I could do this, whether I could go into full-time football. Because once all the scholars are sort of given out and you haven't got one, you feel as though, okay, this is, what do I
You
do
feel like
now?
they're all better than you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
In a sense.
And also there's not really much of a clear path after that, because
Just
you're outside the full-time system and you feel as though like, where am I going to get training now to keep up, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it does just get tougher and tougher as you get older. And like you said, it's the fact that you know that all them boys are going in now full time everyday training, and then you can't. It's going to be harder to then go from club to club and get all these, like you said, like your dad said,
Yeah,
get this
exactly.
training.
Yeah, when you're a kid, it's easy. Like obviously, it's evenings after school. Everyone's going to school regardless of whether you're at Chelsea or whether you're at you haven't got a club. Everyone's doing school. But once
Yeah,
you get to the under 18s age, you got to decide now what else you're gonna do with your life. Like you gonna keep pursuing this football, or are you gonna stick to school and stuff? And that gets in the way of the full-time training and stuff. So it's a problem if after under 16 you haven't got a club. Like,
yeah.
and I know a lot of players that encounter that same sort of problem, and it does sometimes it does sometimes derail people, and they stop playing literally.
Most people
Most
get
people,
derailed
that's
for that.
that's the age where people stop
100%.
playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what made you? What in your head made you like? Obviously, it hit harder after that under 16
Yeah.
period, but what made you keep going and keep pushing after that then?
So I think at the end of like towards the end of that season, um, like under 16 seasons, I think I pretty much got into the mindset that um, football wasn't to be. Um,
Really?
yeah, yeah, it wasn't long lived. It was probably about 3, 4 months where I was in that
Yeah.
space of mind. But I think I just looked at it and thought I was really like good at school, like
What academic? Yeah.
academically, yeah. So it wasn't like from young, my dad always made sure that I was doing well at school because football was never guaranteed and
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff. So because of that, at that point, I just felt like I'm really good at school. I've got these options to go and do academically, and it looks like football. Like I haven't got a scholarship. I don't know what I'm going to do in that sense. So I was pretty much in the headspace of like, okay, football probably isn't going to happen at this point. Um, Let me go in and do my A levels and go into
Yeah.
and go into like the world of academia and see what I can do
Another
there.
path.
Basically,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that was about 3, 4 months, but I remember my mum kept banging on about the fact that you put a lot into this and you are good. Like it's not you don't have
Cheers,
to
mum.
just yeah, you don't have to just like abandon all of that just like that, because it was pretty much just like that. I just stopped training,
Yeah.
stop playing. So because my mum was banging on about it, I think I just got back into like I went to Barking at the time, which was a local team on the 18 sort of
Yeah.
level, and just played for for like for fun basically.
Yeah.
But within like a couple of weeks, once you start playing for fun, like you get it back, don't you? Straight away, it came
Yeah.
back to me, and obviously,
The
I
hunger
was
comes
the
back.
hunger comes
Yeah.
back, and plus the fact that I was dominating the level, it kind of gives you that kickback and says you can do this.
Yeah.
I think that was probably a big turning point for me career wise. Because I think before that sort of break, I was a kid just playing football, going around. My dad says we go to this club, we go to this club,
Yeah.
etc. But I think from that period onwards, that's probably when I took my career into my own hands and made sure I put in as much work as I could
Yeah.
to become a better player and look after all the areas of the game you need to improve. I think that was a major sort of click for me.
Yeah. Mate, credit to you because, and it sounds like at two different like pivotal points of your career, footballing career, your dad telling you to get these training in regardless of the outcome, and then your mum telling you to get back in it. They've played
Yeah,
big parts in it.
yeah, massively. Like your parents, they're there to support you and stuff, and mine have been really good for me in my career so far. So yeah, without them in those two moments, like you said, I would have definitely derailed
Completely
off
different,
football
wouldn't it?
completely. Yeah, it'd be very different what
Yeah,
I'm looking at.
mate. Well, yeah, fair play to you. And then you said you're at Barking,
Yep.
and then you dominating that level. You stayed at Barking for how long was that?
So that was sort of towards the end of under 16s and into the start of like the first year of under 18s
Yeah,
level. And at this point, I'd obviously done my GCSEs and I'd gone to college to do my A levels. I went to like a really top school in London,
yeah.
like called King's Math School. Um, was doing my A levels there, so um, that became quite intense. Um,
What was you
but
studying?
I was doing maths, further maths,
Oh, bloody hell.
physics, and economics.
Oh,
So yeah,
okay.
like
You like
some good
numbers?
subjects. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
good as a striker, I suppose, isn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah. So I was doing like tough A levels at
Yeah,
a school that was really demanding. Um, but simultaneously, I've like picked up my hunger for football again. It's come back. So I'm seeing where I can play because obviously I know, like, okay, scholar age is like it's very difficult to get trials and stuff like that. But where can I just play football and keep developing? Um, and then I think I wanted to go up a step from Barking. So I went to Bromley at the time. That was under 18s.
okay.
Um, and that was a big change for me. Not in terms of level, because the level was slightly better, but not that. But like I was now in an environment that felt like I'm with other players that want to be pros.
Yeah,
At Barking, obviously it's local level. Um, it's good footballers, but everyone's, understands this is just recreational,
not
if that
much of
makes
them,
sense.
not many of them have much ambition, do they?
Yeah, they're just playing purely for fun. And, perhaps for some of them, the idea of even playing semi-pro is like a dream, but it's not, they're doing other stuff.
Yeah,
Whereas I went to Bromley and the coach was at the time was very sort of, committed to improving us as players. All the players wanted to go on and be players. So that was really, beneficial for me at the time. I sort of needed that environment because um, you want to, I think at that age, you want to know that, yeah, the dream's still on. You can still go on and play. And I think if you're around sort of people all the time that this isn't for them, like then obviously it can be kind of negative for you. But as soon as you get back in that environment where you feel as though, yeah, none of us have scholars at this point, but the dream's still on for us. I think that's really important.
yeah. When you surround yourself with people with the same goals as you, it definitely helps you drive yourself on and just try that little bit harder, doesn't it? Push yourself, keep yourself disciplined on what you need to do. So you're at Bromley, okay? You again, you started playing for them. How long was you at Bromley for? So I
I was at
know, sorry, I know you ended up signing your pro at Colchester, your
Yeah,
first pro.
yeah.
So how did you get from Bromley to Colchester?
So Bromley was like first year scholar sort of
Yeah,
age. And then the second year I actually moved to Maidstone's under 18. So similar sort of thing,
yeah.
but this was just Maidstone. Obviously no one's at contracts at these clubs. It's just you're just
Oh, is it not? No.
nah, you're
So
not
you
you're
just
yeah,
playing,
you
yeah,
just sign and play. So it was very easy to move from Bromley to Maidstone. It
yeah.
was just that was I think convenience at the time. And then when I was at Maidstone, I started playing for Erith Town's men's team as well. So that was step 5 at the time. I think I was 16, 17.
Was that paid?
That was paid, yeah,
Yeah.
not
Not
great, but
yeah.
yeah, still, yeah, that was obviously non-league, so
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was yeah, but I think combining those two was really good for me because it got me my taste of men's football pretty early, 16, 17.
16. Yeah.
Even though it's not like amazing level, anyone that knows non-league knows that even right to like step five, like there's people can play football. It's
Yeah.
just might not be the prettiest football, but people can play. But that men's football was completely different to like playing in academies or with under
Like with
18s.
Bromley and Maidstone.
Exactly, it's really
What was
different.
the main difference you found when you first started with Erith?
Well, physically, it's obviously grown men,
Yeah.
and I think 3 points become massive because it's promotion, it's relegation,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
money on the line for clubs and stuff. 3 points become massive, so you sort of learn that okay, when I get on the pitch, we need to do whatever we can to get 3 points. As a striker, you need to score goals,
Yeah.
um, you know, tricks, all of that stuff. It's nice, but at the end of the day, can you put the ball in the back of
It's
the net
outcome
and
in it.
can
It's
you
a
get
results
3 points
based.
exactly? So I think that was probably the big learning point of playing men's football then, and also all the small ugly stuff on the pitch.
Yeah.
Like I think everyone's obviously got the idea that football is nice and pretty and it's all technical, but
Yeah. Because that's
there's
what
a
they see
lot
on the
more.
TV, innit?
Yeah, exactly. But there's so much more um, in between like phases of possession and stuff like that that you have to get right as a player. And if too many players on the pitch are getting those wrong, then you sort of lose control of a game and you end up losing games. So I think I learned that quite quickly from that, and then I combined obviously 18s at Maidstone was prettier football because it was youth football.
Yeah.
Um, combining those two, I really started to take off at Maidstone. That's when I started to get some attention from the pro clubs again.
Yeah. And is it, so you said that point, it just felt like it clicks? Because for
Yeah.
me, I had that same thing. There was a point where I just thought, like, it was probably my first couple months in full-time football,
Mm,
and it's probably the most I've ever improved in them 2 months.
mm.
Like, I don't know, there's always a moment I feel like people say where they just feel like, yeah, it's starting to come together.
Yeah, yeah. My life was pretty busy at the time because obviously I was doing the A levels at this school and it was really, really intense. Um, I was playing for the 18s at Maidstone and I was playing for Year of Town on a Saturday. So the ideal thing about that was Maidstone's games were always like Monday nights or Tuesday
Oh, so
nights.
you had the
So
Saturday
I could
free,
play that and then go and play Saturday. So a lot of football, a lot of school and stuff, but I was really like nailed down and focused on both. Um, so yeah, like you said, things started to click. Like I could see that. Obviously, the men's football, I was competing. I was using that as experience at the time, and seeing what I can do. Like in
yeah,
terms of can I get some goals? Can I use because I was young, was quick, good in front of goal, could beat a man. Obviously, it wasn't physically there yet because I
yeah,
was
yeah,
16, 17. Um, and then when I dropped to the 18s now and play, that felt like
a doddle.
yeah, it felt like you could feel the difference because physically you're now advanced because you're getting the men's football. Um, and then yeah, that's when it really clicked. And that season, I think I started doing really well with the 18s at Maidstone. And that started getting some attention for me.
Yeah, that's a really good, like, the problem I see with players in these academies, that when they try and get men's football is, of course, the managers say, especially lower down the leagues, we need someone
Yeah,
with first team experience. So the
yeah,
fact that you've somehow managed to get the academy side of it, I know, like, mate,
almost. Yeah,
yeah, almost like
yeah.
the academy side of it while playing the men's football is obviously put you in good stead for the future.
Yeah, yeah. When you're not in, your traditional routes, you're sort of forced to find alternatives, and that was literally how I used it at the time. As at the time, I literally saw it as, I'm getting my sort of academy like training from the
Yeah,
18s, and then getting men's football with Irif. Like it might not be the highest level, but I was developing at the time, and it was showing on the pitch.
yeah, yeah. So to me, yeah, like to me, if you're a manager, I just feel like, yeah, you've got the technical side daily almost, and then you've got the physical side as well, and you've got the experience in both. So
Mm.
yeah, no, that's good. So how did Colchester come about? Did they pick you up from Maidstone?
So from Maidstone, initially there was like a West Ham scout that was keen on bringing me in.
Yeah,
So he brought me into to West Ham at the end of the 18 season. So like April times.
yeah,
I was there for about 2 weeks. I even went on tour with them and stuff like that. So that was my first experience of the pro level, if that makes sense. Because everything before that was academies, but
yeah,
this was the first time I was in and around like pros. Obviously, it's 18s and 23s, but full time,
Yeah, yeah,
um, good stand. And obviously I've gone in there and I've pretty much held my own. Like I've gone in there and impressed pretty much. So for me, that was a big, again, sort of boost for my confidence, because as much as you're doing your stuff outside the system, you always wonder, okay, if I go in the system now, academy age is gone now. It's like it's been 2 years of scholarships and stuff. I'm at the end of that period. What would the difference be like? And I've gone in, and for me, and from the feedback as well, I've competed.
yeah,
I've been right up there with Premier League, um, under 18s and under 23s level
yeah,
players. So that was a big confidence boost for me. I was disappointed that obviously I didn't get offered a contract there, but I think the big take from me from that was, I'm good enough
yeah.
to
I
to
can
to
do
get
this. A
to
bit
get
of
a pro
reassurance.
contract. Yeah. Um, and this came at a like sort of pivotal stage of like life in a sense, because at this point now, um, I've done my uni applications as normal, and I've got like offers from some really top unis to go and do a degree full time basically.
Yeah,
Um, and because of how my football was progressing, because of how this trial went, I'd already made my mind up before
yeah,
that, but that was sort of like an extra push. I decided at the time that I can sort of, I can take a gap year, I can pause these like offers, because in my head I thought, I can always come back and do a degree at
yeah,
any
yeah.
point. But if you're going to chase football, you've got to do it pretty much straight away.
All in as well,
Yeah, oh,
100%.
exactly. You can't do it like half-heartedly. So um, I had the offers, I rejected them, and thought, okay, if I
The
need
uni
to,
offers that.
yeah,
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 I rejected them, and then said, okay, if I need to ever go back and do those, I can do that
yeah,
whenever. And then I just went all in into football. So that summer I trained like proper hard on my own with coaches, etc., like just doing individual bits. Um, and then I think after that West Ham trial, the recruitment people there, I think they recommended me to Colchester.
okay.
So I went into Colchester from day one of that pre-season, done about 4 weeks training there, and eventually signed there.
Yeah, I bet you. So what do you remember? What that feeling was like when they first told you?
Yeah, that was
I mean, it must have been. You've had like big up and downs from
yeah,
under 13s to 16s, then from not getting a scholar after under 16s, deciding whether to go football or uni, and you've chose football,
yeah,
and then it's like all this work has finally paid off. Really?
yeah. It's obviously massive relief, because very early into this gap year, I've got a contract, so
Yeah,
straight away I kind of know that, okay, that was a good decision to make. Um, and it was sort of proof to myself, because obviously everyone talks about hard work and all of this, which is correct, but you're never going to fully believe it until you get your own sort of evidence that it works. And
yeah,
this was my first sort of direct proof that in football, anyways, because I'd worked hard in school and got results, but
yeah,
football, this is the first like direct proof to myself that if you go all in,
yeah.
put the work in, do the extras, you will get to
I've
where
done
you
this
want to
work, and
be.
this is what I've got.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
that was a good feeling, and it just made me hungrier to keep working and see where I can take my game,
yeah, yeah.
basically.
So one thing I was curious about when you chose football, like you held off on the uni offers, and you chose to go down to pursue football.
Yeah.
Obviously a big decision and risky one, but what was your parents' thoughts on that at the time?
Yeah. So obviously my dad um had been behind me from day one in both. He was the reason I was good at school in the first place, with like helping me out from young, um and just sort of drilling in the mindset that school's important. As well as taking me everywhere for football. If without him I wouldn't be anywhere near becoming a player. So he was in a good position to sort of look at it from a balanced
Yeah,
perspective, if that makes sense. He wasn't someone that only took me to football and didn't care about school, or he wasn't someone that was so just banging on about education and didn't care about football. Like he had a level head as well. So it wasn't as much as I made the decision. We discussed this kind of thing, and then he agreed and just said, You can the grades you've got at A level and GCSE, they will take you to uni at any point, but
yeah. You're not gonna lose. You don't lose them
you
grades,
don't
do you?
lose them. You don't lose them. I've still got them. They you can go and do a degree at any point.
Yeah,
Um, and career wise outside of football. 18's a young age. Like you got time. Like you can come back at uni at 25 if you want
Yeah, yeah,
and do 3 years
of
and still
course.
be young. But as a player, you've got a limited career and you've got to make the most of it at those ages. So they were behind me. They could see the work I was putting in as well. I wasn't just saying this and gonna chill at home and do nothing. Like they knew
Yeah,
I was putting in the work. So yeah, it was an easy discussion with them. They were behind me the whole way.
yeah. So like you said, it's the fact that they knew you're putting in the work and you will continue to do that. It's not like, right, I've held these uni offers off and I'm just going to play a bit of football on the weekend.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
so they were confident in you. But so Colchester signed you your first pro at 18,
Yeah, 18,
18.
18.
And how was your time at Colchester?
Yeah, Colchester was for me like really enjoyable.
Yeah,
Like at least you remember going in every day, and for me, um, I think especially with the path I'd been through and not having a scholar and finally getting here, like I don't remember ever going there and taking a day for granted. Like every single day, the idea that I was, you know, able to come in and train full time as a player, that was like I was really like appreciative of the opportunity. So I went in, enjoyed every single session. Um, I tried to make the most of the facilities. Like their coaches have a decent training ground, so I'd practice my finishing after training
yeah,
whenever I could. I'd be in the gym afterwards doing like my power stuff and that. So I really made the most of that time at Colchester. Um, and yeah, it was a positive experience in my career. Obviously, I didn't end up um, getting into the first team and playing for them, but like it was my first experience of full-time football.
being a
And
pro footballer.
being a pro footballer basically. Um, it gave me a lot of um, I was able to see firsthand because obviously you speak to people. Obviously, I know players that play and all of that, but that firsthand experience of being a pro um helped me moving forward, especially dropping into non-league and stuff. It helped me understand how much I need to be training,
Yeah,
what the standard is like, how much work I need to be doing to keep up with the pro boys and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. What did you think of the standard? Like in terms of the players you were playing with, I suppose you would have trained the first team a few times or however many times.
Mm.
What did you think of the standard? Was you shocked whether it was good or was you like, no, I can keep up with this. I'm here.
No, I was definitely in a position where, because obviously I tried for 4 or 5 weeks, and at that level they're not signing people on trial just to make numbers. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to come and be one of
You have to
the better
really,
players, basically.
if you're even level with them, they
They
don't.
don't
They,
sign you
yeah,
exactly. So I'd come in, I'd seen the level obviously on trial and seen that yeah, I can I can come in and be one of the better players here.
make an
So
impact here.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So I'd come in and done that, and obviously got the contract. The level was obviously good. These are players that either had been at Colchester for years. Some had been at bigger clubs. Your Premier League clubs and come down
yeah,
and signed because that happens all the time. Players get released from the big clubs and come down and
yeah,
sign. So the level was good. I trained with the first team a few times um, again, gone in there and done what I do. So that gave me more confidence to say, yeah, I can train with a League Two first team at sort of 18, 19
yeah,
and definitely hold my own, but also like do, the stuff that I'm good at, sort of let that show. So yeah, that was definitely, you know, a good again reminder for me that, this is I'm not out of my depths here, if
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. Was there any standout players when you're looking back, like teammates that you thought, well, like I'm shocked or he's decent. Like,
Yeah, in the 23s at the time, I'd say um we had a guy called Louis Dunn
yeah,
in he was a midfielder at the time. Um and he was really good. He was coming back from an ACL injury, so like the first part I didn't see him, I just didn't know who he was. I
yeah,
used to see him around doing his own sort of individual training. And then when he was finally ready to come back in, um yeah, he was probably our best player in the 23s at the time. Um, and obviously in the first team, there were good players there. Those players like don't know if you know Sammy Smodics, who's Blackburn now.
oh, okay, yeah,
Um, Kate,
tidy,
yeah,
yeah,
Tidy number 10, like he was good. You can see the levels. I think he was
yeah,
probably about 22, 23 at the time.
Yeah,
Now played in the championship, like you could see that it was that sort of player that go on. So yeah, there were standout players, but I think the big thing about pro setups is everyone does the basics right. You know what I mean? Like
that's it. Yeah,
everyone can look after a football.
yeah,
Everyone can make sure they find their teammate. Everyone can make sure that when being pressed, they can retain possession. No one's sort of killing your team. So everyone does the basics right, and that's the most important thing, I think. Um, there's some players that, or like even myself, probably when I was younger, you feel like you want to be the wild sort of player,
yeah,
which is good. It's important. Like that's how you win games at times. But there's a time and a place for that. You can't try and be the wild player in the center circle and then lose possession, and your team's getting counted against. So yeah, I think that everyone does the basics right. That was a big thing I learned about the pro setup.
yeah. For me as well, like it becomes a problem when you start doing this. You can do all the tricks and flicks and the what and the the stuff that looks good. But that's only if you're maintaining to do the basics right in it. I coach the Palace Academy at the moment,
Yeah,
and a lot of the kids there they want to just care about getting on the ball and doing the end product, and but they just don't the basics ain't there. You can't build on top of it unless you've got the foundation, can you?
exactly.
So it's from looking inside football, people outside. I think that's the thing they mainly miss
Yeah,
about it and don't actually realise how it's not an easy thing. Like it's called they're basics, but doing them 10 times out of 10
that's what
is
it is.
is the
Yeah,
trick.
exactly.
So but yeah, it's it's good. Good experience for you then going into Colchester. You were there for how long was you there
I was
for?
there for just over a year, like a season. Yeah,
Season,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And then you left. I believe you went to Enfield.
Yep.
Okay, so did Colchester just ended up releasing you after that 1 year?
Yeah, so at the end of the year, um, I think I think they look at sort of the 23s and look at who's in a position to play regularly in the first team the next year, basically. And I remember at the time the gaffer there, obviously I'm a striker, the gaffer there, the first team gaffer that is, um, had a really specific style of striker that he utilized.
Yeah,
They were all sort of big target men. And obviously, if you're not that, then you're not in direct line to play for the gaffer. And at the end of the day, no matter what you're doing in the 23s, everything you do at the club to 18s, 23s, everyone's feeding to the first team, aren't
yeah,
they?
of
So
course.
um, if you're not that in line to play for that gaffer, um, it's best for myself. It's best for the club if you sort of move on
Yeah.
and go elsewhere. So that's when I went to Enfield.
Yeah, so this is like you said, it gets to a point where it's not about can he be a professional footballer? You're there now,
Yeah.
and it's like does he fit into our specific system that the gaffer wants to play, the specific role that we want him to play? And like you said, if it doesn't work out, they'll just easily get rid of you. It's
Yeah,
ruthless, isn't it?
yeah, exactly.
So then you went on to Enfield.
Yeah,
They what league were they in at the time?
they were in the Isthmian League at the time.
Okay,
Still are, I believe. So step three.
okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So why how could you not find anything? I'm guessing what league? I suppose it was League Two, wasn't it? You were leaving
yeah, yeah. They were League Two at the time. Yeah.
and went to Enfield. How did you find that transition?
Um. So obviously, I think every pro that comes out of a team at that sort of age, I think you have the expectation that you'll go to another pro club or you will
Yeah,
um you get another full time deal somewhere else. And then as time goes on, you realize it's not actually that easy. People start asking, what men's football have you played at? What experience have you got? Um, and it becomes increasingly difficult, and you realize, okay, you might have to actually step down and prove yourself
yeah.
before jumping back up.
I think that's the best things. Like so many people reject that, don't they? And they just think they're almost better than that level, and their pride, their ego, don't let them drop down.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's the best thing for me that you can do.
yeah. I think probably because I dropped down before and stuff, it wasn't like obviously no one's like if you come out of a pro club, you want to stay as a
Of
pro,
course, yeah,
obviously. But I think when I realized that okay, the full-time offers aren't coming, the option came to go to Enfield, and then I went in there and I impressed, and I just thought, okay, they're gonna play me here, um, and it's men's football, it's at a decent level, um, if I play here and impress, all the doors were open again.
Yeah,
All the people that are sort of unsure now, if they see me scoring goals at Enfield or whatever, that they're gonna pay attention again. So I think I just thought, okay, let me go there and get my head down. It's nothing flash in that, but at the same time, it's a respectable standard, and people in football respect it, especially at that age. I was 19. If I can go there and do well, I knew that, yeah, all the doors were open again for me. So that was the thinking behind going there.
yeah. Like you said, if you go there and you score 15, 20 plus goals, you're not staying in that league. You'll get picked up by someone, won't you?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's one season, not maybe not even that out of your career where you're getting goals as a
Yeah.
striker. So you then from Enfield, you went on to play for a numerous amount of clubs. Braintree, did you go?
Yeah.
And then a couple others. You ended up at now you're at Banbury.
Yeah. So that period was a
You chopped
mad
and changed a
period.
lot, didn't
It
you?
wasn't it wasn't like it was mainly because of COVID.
Yeah,
So obviously it was at Enfield that season. I think the season stopped in February of that year, 2020.
yeah.
I think at that point I was on 13 or 14 goals. Like
Y-
I was on pace like to have a good like 18, 20
This
goals
is
for
at
the
Braintree,
season.
sorry.
So this is still at Enfield
Oh, at
that
Enfield.
season up until yeah,
Up until COVID.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So obviously when COVID's happened, those leagues just stopped, and that
Yeah,
was just that sort of thing. And no one really knew when things were going to restart. Um, so that was a tough period for. I think it was a tough period for everyone in any
of course.
industry,
Yeah,
but I think particularly for anyone outside the pro setups, I think it was really hard because non-league clubs obviously struggled. They didn't have the funds to be paying people
yeah.
and stuff like that. But also, um, as a player, they weren't. The pro clubs after the initial sort of full lockdowns, they sort of had a phase where they brought people back in.
Yeah, I think
You
we
know,
went back in at June or July, I think.
yeah, yeah, and you was training. Obviously, there was loads of protocols to make sure everyone was safe and stuff. But there was sort of, you was back. Whereas in non-league, like most of the clubs just weren't back, weren't back in training at all. So everyone was just doing individual stuff,
Yeah.
runs. This is when everyone was doing 5K runs and all of that
Oh,
that
yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
Breaking world records,
yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
he?
exactly. So, um, yeah, that was a tough period. Um, I think we hoped that the next season would be sort of uninterrupted. Um, I went to Potter's Bar at
Yeah,
that season, at the start of that it was 2020 summer, so 2021 season.
yeah.
Went to Potter's Bar, done the first 2 months, and then I think October, November, like the country went into lockdown again. So that season got
That was
stopped
out the
straight
door.
away. And that's when I went to Braintree because I
Okay.
think I think everything at step three and below stopped. National League and National League North and South carried on for a bit.
Okay.
So I think a couple of the players that were good at because I could have gone to a step two club at that point easily, but it was just a case of I wanted to be somewhere I know I'm going to play week in week
Guaranteed
out. Yeah,
football, yeah.
so that's why I went to Potter's Bar at the time. But when obviously that season stopped, Braintree Gaffer at the time rang me and said, "Do you want to come in and play here?" So I went there. But even that, like that was like a couple of weeks, and then I think December times, that's the step two and below, their leagues stopped as well because they couldn't survive. I think everyone was playing behind closed doors at this time, but I think those clubs got to a point where they said we can't do this either.
Nightmare.
So yeah, this was worse than the other season because at least the initial one we started in August and got to about February.
Yeah,
This one by December, all football was
stopped.
done. So pretty much this time, like
It was
football was
nothing.
stopping, and that was it for the rest of the season. So it was tough times for everyone, anyone without sort of a pro deal. Um,
And you were at a club from that point to the end of the season.
yeah,
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 until it started up again.
yeah, literally again. So yeah, obviously I trained hard during the COVID times. I think one of the things I wanted to improve massively was my finishing at the time. I thought like I was a good finisher. I was always a good finisher, but I felt like there's levels. Like I looked at some strikers and thought, hey, there's hyper strikers that any half yard in around the box and
Yeah,
it's back of the net, and I wanted to get to that level. So, um, luckily for me, I had some goals not too far from where I lived.
yeah.
Um, I just bought literally a bag of balls, and then I was going there every single day, just hitting shot after shot. Um,
Was there a striker you looked up to, like even when you were a bit younger, but obviously up until like 18, 19, 20, that you maybe try to base your game off, or you just always had them somewhere in the back of your mind when you're training?
Yeah, no, I picked up from loads of strikers. Like obviously, growing up, I'm an Arsenal fan, so
Me too, yeah.
Thierry Henry was the guy. That was more as a kid though, like not analyzing his
No,
game, but that was
just
more yeah,
he's an idol and I
yeah,
like him. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Um, and then I think once I got to sort of teenage ages, I think Ronaldo became someone I literally watched. Like you can show me any Ronaldo goal, and I'll be able to tell you what
yeah.
happens. Like I've seen
Really,
them
yeah.
all. Yeah, yeah. Um,
Even the ones against Arsenal.
yeah, yeah. I remember all of them. Yeah. Um, so I've analyzed Ronaldo, and especially because he turned from someone that wasn't a natural goal scorer, just a winger,
Yeah,
a very good winger, into the most prolific
scoring
goal
machine, isn't it?
scorer. Yeah. So I think everyone talks about natural goal scorers a lot, and obviously it's probably a thing, but I'm a big believer that anything can be worked on, and I think he's probably the biggest testament to that. Someone that didn't score goals
Yeah.
goes on to become a better goal scorer than anyone that's ever lived
And
before
now
any.
he's labelled as a natural goal scorer.
Exactly,
Yeah.
from exactly. So I watched him a lot, and I think around the time when I was, COVID was. I think Harry Kane was someone I was watching a lot. Because I just thought he's someone that can finish every type of finish. He's got on lock, right foot, left foot, and you can just see it's someone that's worked on it, for hours. So that was the inspiration at the time during COVID. I just thought, okay, every day I'm gonna go. You know, I, I'd say as a striker, you're kind. It's I'd probably say I was a bit lucky because that type of training is enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's not like
Jumping up, heading it in.
exactly, yeah. So even though, there was no team training at the time, it was all individual, it was still enjoyable for me because it was like, okay, go set up a few cones and practice hitting the back of the
It's
net.
probably the best position to practice on your own, isn't it?
To practice on your own, like it's definitely the
Probably.
best position, I'd say. So I just made the most of it during that time, trained a
Yeah.
lot than hours of finishing because I knew during the season there's a limit to how much you can do. There's a game in 2 days, you got to manage your body and stuff. But at
Yeah.
that point, I had no, there's no games coming up. There's
Yeah.
no, I
Chuck
can
everything
just
at it, can you?
yeah, can just go all in.
Yeah.
So I think my finishing improved massively that season.
Yeah. And then so after that period, football started to come back. You went in, played for a couple different clubs before you were at Banbury.
Yeah, so Banbury was just this season. Obviously that year, when football finally came back
Yeah.
properly, I went to Cheshunt again, step three, um, and I started the season really well. Um, scored quite a few goals, and then moved to Kings Lynn, and that was in the National League. Um, so jumped 2 levels to go to Kings Lynn. Obviously Kings Lynn was struggling at the time, so it was obviously a harder setup to go into, but it
Yeah.
was a full-time setup.
So
So
so you jumped 2 levels.
yeah,
So was you doing, like, was you banging in the goals when you
yeah,
were
yeah,
at,
yeah. I was scoring goals at Cheshunt.
so a lot of people listening might be like, how's he just jumped two
No,
levels?
yeah, yeah. I was I was scoring goals at Cheshunt. Um, yeah, I was doing really well
So
at that
yeah,
level.
you were
But
performing, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
you got
but
the calls from the higher up leagues.
yeah, yeah. All the work base that I'd put in during that absence was showing when I was on the pitch at Cheshunt. So yeah, that
Yeah.
got me the move 2 levels up to Kings Lynn at the time in the
Okay.
National League. Yeah,
And then how was Kingston? How long you were there for? Was that just 1 year then?
I was at Kings Lynn for
Or not even that?
no, over a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I signed an 18-month deal when I went there. And within sort of the first week, the gaffer that signed for got sacked.
Happens all
Um,
the time at that level, doesn't
yeah, yeah,
it?
but they were, we were at the bottom end of the table, so we were struggling. So it was always sort of risk. But yeah, the gaffer got sacked. And obviously a new gaffer's come in. Um, and that's always hard. Some players get lucky, some players get unlucky in terms of the gaffer comes in and has his style of play, and it suits some players that weren't playing before. It doesn't suit some players that come into play and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wasn't playing as much for the rest of that season. I wasn't playing as much with that gaffer. Um, so that's football. Sometimes
Yeah.
some gaffers value what you bring to a team. Others prefer another style. And I think especially as a striker, where it's like it really depends on how a gaffer wants to play. If a gaffer wants to play a certain type of way, it might suit, a quick mobile striker more than someone who's, physical and good in the air,
Yeah,
and vice versa. So it really depends, and that's why I learned in football the most more than club. It's about who you sign for, what
yeah,
manager you go and sign for. I think that matters more than the club or anything,
definitely.
because at the end of the day, it's not even a chairman picks the team, not even, it's the manager that's going to pick the team. So you want to go somewhere where the manager values you and rates you,
Yeah,
and is going to build a team that suits your attributes, basically.
yeah, 100%. And to also not take it personally when when certain managers, like you said, don't are not after you or are not taking a liking to you, because there will be someone out there. You've got to that level, you're there now, so there will be someone out there. Like you said, if you keep doing the right things, that will want your style and like your style, and want you in their team.
Yeah, you can never take it personally. Like, it's football, and I think from the top all the way down to the bottom, there's highs and lows in football. So,
Yeah,
like, you're gonna see a manager that loves you, plays you week in, week out, and you might go to the next and he doesn't. But when you're at that, with that manager and you're not playing, like you said, you've just got to remember that someone else is out there is going to play you week in, week out. So just keep doing the right things, keep training when you get on the pitch, because I was getting on the pitch, do
yeah,
try and have an impact. Um, and then, if it doesn't work out there, wherever you go next, just go and make the most of that.
yeah, clean slate in it.
Exactly, yeah.
So we'll get onto your time at Banbury.
Mhm.
So you've been there just this season,
Yeah,
and you've scored, I believe, 6 goals. Yeah,
yeah,
played 17 games, 6 goals, 1 assist,
yeah.
and you got in the team of the week once.
Yeah, yeah.
The national,
About, yeah, the team of the week,
yeah,
in September. Yeah, yeah.
for is that all the National League team of the week
No,
or
that's per league. So
per
they've got,
league?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so when was that?
That was mid-September, I believe. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So a couple months ago.
so I mean, how would you say your time's been then? I mean, 6 goals, 1 assist is good numbers.
Yeah, yeah. It's not bad at all. I think we were a brand new team, so the new gaffer's come into the club. Um, and the majority of the players that were at the club last season moved on for a variety of reasons. So he's come in and had to build a brand new club, a brand new team, basically.
Yeah,
Um, So obviously it was always going to be a tough start because you only have pre-season, which is not long to sign players and build a style and sort of, get get some chemistry going. So we had a tough start, but I think the Gaffer's finally built, I think, a team that is very competitive. We've got good players all around the pitch, and I think that, you know, this Christmas period is going to be really busy. I think if we can kick on and get some important wins, we can be at the right end of the table competing. And yeah, myself personally, yeah, 6 goals isn't a bad start to
yeah,
to the season. But I know there's a lot more in the tank. So
yeah. It'd be good to see.
yeah.
So is that something that's been communicated like throughout the club, like a certain goal of where you want to? Is the goal promotion for the club?
So we haven't spoken specifically, that
Yeah,
specifically, but I know that deep down the gaffer's ambitious.
yeah,
The gaffer's really ambitious because, you know we're stable in the league, but he's not satisfied with that. He wants us
yeah,
to
yeah,
keep pushing. So I know deep down in his head, he's looking, can we go as far as promotion? And we talk as teammates, and when we speak around, like, everyone in the squad, believes that we've got the players to go as far as at least making the playoffs. So, but it's about doing it on the pitch, and it's such a tough league in terms of how tight it is. Anyone can beat anyone on any given day, so it's
yeah,
about which team can build the most consistency, really.
yeah, yeah. So wait, where do you say you're in the league now?
We're around mid-table, I believe.
Mid-table.
Mid-table, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. So you definitely as look,
Probably like 3 points from playoffs. Like, it's that
yeah.
tight of a league.
Is
Yeah,
it always like that league?
yeah. I
It
think
is
it is. I think what it is,
such little margins, isn't it? Little
yeah, no
percents.
one's like, okay, in our league currently, I'd say Scunthorpe are probably head and shoulders the best team in the league.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's a massive club. It shouldn't be at this level. But then everywhere else is like, yeah, there's good teams, but like no one's like way better than anyone else. So if that decent team, comes off 5%,
yeah,
and the team that isn't as good works hard, they just win, and that's how this league works. So every weekend you look at the fixtures, and someone that's 18th will beat someone that's third, and that's why it's just ridiculously tight. And whoever can sort of put on a run and
Yeah.
get sort of 6, 7 wins, or a few draws in that, then you'll pull away and come up good.
Any bit of momentum, then you're laughing, really, aren't you?
Exactly,
And
exactly.
then the other way, any one injury to a starter could mean you drop down 5 or 6. So
Yeah, exactly. It
people
goes both ways.
people do underestimate how tough them leagues are, like
Yeah,
National League, even non-league people underestimate, because you've got half that team could be filled with like ex-pros that have
oh
played
yeah,
for my one of my local non-league teams, Phoenix.
mm,
Used to have a player left back who was part of the Invincible squad. Something he's playing like
yeah,
Ryman Prem or Ryman
yeah,
South. So it's littered with them top ex-pros. So it's a lot tougher than people think.
yeah, yeah.
Personally, for you, what's your plans for the next season? This season, do you have a target number of goals or a target you want to hit?
Yeah, obviously, as a player, I want to play as high as possible.
Yeah,
I want to, get into the
like
football
long
league. I
term.
want to
Yeah,
play. That's long term. Want to play as high as possible. And I know, what you do in the short term will determine that. So obviously, as a striker, I know that goals are, important. There's a lot more to a striker's game, but goals are
yeah,
sort of what stand out. You're in the team to sort of score goals and win games for your team.
and that'll make the most noise to people that
And
aren't watching the games, isn't it?
exactly, and that is the thing that I've sort of understood about the lower down you play. In the Prem, there's strikers that might never hardly ever score, but
Yeah,
because everyone's watching, everyone
Firmino
can exactly for
comes to
me,
mind.
everyone can see how good he was,
Yeah,
and no one's questioning his ability. But the lower down you go, obviously, no one's. It's not televised. Like obviously, people see
yeah,
highlights and stuff, but at the end of each weekend, it's like, what was the score? Who was on the score sheet? So
yeah.
as a
Go
striker,
down
you
the Sky
understand.
Sports app and you just see the names. That's what you look
Exactly.
for,
As a
isn't it?
striker, so you understand that, getting on the score sheet regularly is very important. So yeah, I have targets in mind.
Yeah,
I don't like go around saying it,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I know deep down what I'm trying to do this season.
yeah,
But I also think as a team, if we can, be competitive and be at the right end of the table, um, you know, that's going to help. That will help me, and in turn, if I'm doing what I need to do, that will help the team to be at the right end of the table.
yeah, mate. Sounds good. Listen, Ken, I appreciate the time.
Pleasure, mate. Appreciate it.
I think we'll leave it there.
Yeah,
Been a good chat, and yeah, good luck for the rest of the season, mate.
thank you. Appreciate
Nice
it.
one, nice one, mate.
Cheers.
Nice. Yes, guys, thanks for watching this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, could you please follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel? It massively helps us out.